there's a object called patcherargs. If you go to a hub file, you'll see this that says retrieve patcher arguments. But then the example they gave you, this actually confused me, but it's a very useful argument. So in the previous videos, if you have seen the abstraction equals make your own object, you will notice that you had something like I don't know, like pound, pound 1, pound 2, and so on, even pound 0 for the instance specific receive and send. But this one, if you want to not make an abstraction, lots of people now make a patcher instead. Patcher, as you remember, encapsulation lesson. So you can make a P that patcher. So this is a sub-patch within a patcher, right? So let's say you have yet another simple example of, I don't know, 10 plus times 2, you know, whatever that you're doing. This can be a encapsulated tap in, tap out, or you know, anything that you're doing. So this would be 22, whatever, right? So okay, so in the world of making abstraction, if you want to change these numbers, look at the abstraction lesson. You would do something like this, right? And then if you load it as an abstraction and give an argument to that abstraction, then these numbers will change. However, if this is a patcher object, so let's say you had 2, or was it 2 and 10, something like this, but you want to change these from outside. Change this as a almost like in inlet abstraction. So you would do outlet, let. So suppose this is your patcher, sub-patcher. So I made a little sub-patcher, and if I open it, looks like this, right? So suppose you want to change these numbers as you do in abstraction. You can, of course, put a secondary, the right inlet to change these, right? So instead of plus 2, this can be plus 5. Now this would be 6 times 10 equals 60, and so on and so forth. This can change dynamically, right? So 2 times 10 now, right? I'm sorry, 2 plus 10 times 10, so 120. So how if you want to change this if you have so many of them? Okay, so let's say I have the identical ones like this, and I can make an outlet for each of them and do that, or you can put a patcherarg argument, patcherarg object in here. And since now I happen to have 2 elements that I want to change, you can just unjoin them. Unjoin, and then go from here, and let's see. Okay, so 1 and 2. So like this, and then what do you do? I don't even have to save it. So let's say I want, that was 2 and 10, right? So something different, like 3 and 5. And now it's not there yet. Why? Because this patcherarg needs to be triggered. So if I put a bang here, it will 3 and 5 like that. But it's cumbersome to do that always, right? So you can do this. Let's say, I don't know, 5 times whatever. Okay, so I don't know, whatever, random, terrible numbers. I'm just typing. Okay, so you could do that, and you get this one, you get that one, you get this one, right? So how do you do the bang for each of them? So there is a object called thispatcher. I should do a whole lesson on thispatcher, but thispatcher determines everything that happened on that patcher. So it says send the load bang message to all objects, including load bang object. What it doesn't say here, and it's probably somewhere in the reference, I believe, is that you can actually send a load bang message to actually trigger the patcherargs as well. So let's just make a different argument so that you know that it changed. I don't know. Okay, whatever. This and that. Whatever this is. Okay, so I am not sending the bang into the patcher. Patcherargs here, right? But watch. I would send the load bang to this patcher that is on the top level of all your subpatcher in here, and watch this. There, see, 6.2, and this would be 8.3, and this would be 10.33, 10.34, and this would be 45 and 95. So I always have this load bang dispatcher living on my top level. Dispatcher is a world in itself, so I'll do another lesson of that. But what's great about dispatcher is also, since load mess, let's say 100, and you want a, I don't know, it can be a slider, so it looks better. So if I save dispatcher and reopen it, this will have the 100, right? The load mess lesson, remember from the video. But then in the course of your pieces, you might be sending different values and it's a different place. Oh, but I want to go from the beginning of the piece. If you send this load bang, it will snap back to 100. And the great thing about that is, if this load mess or whatever you have, load bang or load mess, are inside, even in your subpatch, let's say I want this to be 10, but then again you're sending and receiving something else, and it's going up and down, up and down. This is the state you ended up rehearsing, and okay, I want to go from the top. And this also changed. Now watch load bang dispatcher, bang, see? So load bang dispatcher is a very good way to initialize your setting at the beginning of your piece. Okay.